Okay, as I said, I'm back with part two. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go ahead and get into part two. But, I mean, part two of part two. Well, you know what I'm saying. But, okay, so this is the second half. Now, so, like I said, I was at my grandmother's house. Remember, I went back. Because, like I said, I remembered that. I was like, okay, I had talked to this lady before. And so, like I said, I had went and stayed at my grandma's house for a few days. And so during that time while I'm over there, my heart's breaking. I'm dealing with all the emotions. Remember, I said all that time I had stayed calm, but now at this point it's not, because back to when I said that, when I said he was purging himself and he decided he wanted to tell me everything when he had got robbed and all that stuff. That when I found out about her and all that stuff, well, before that, he had already had fooled with this person by like a year before. And I had talked to her before. And so I thought this whole thing was done, was over with this person, but I guess it wasn't. But at that time, a year before, when I found out about her and all that, and I talked to her, and she's talking about, how she was pregnant that time, but I guess she lost the baby and all that. And this lady was talking about how she was sick and had cancer and all that stuff. And I'm just like, and my spirit, my discernment picked up on the fact that you're a lie and something's wrong with you. But I just shut it all down. And so I was just like, okay. And then so after that, like I said, I'm finding out about this, we're dealing with this, and I'm crying and all this and that. And this man leaves and stay gone till like 3 a.m. because no, not even 3 a.m. I'm like the next day, the sun done came up. Because this lady done told him she gonna hurt herself. So he left me with this news and went and stayed with her. And like I said, I'm like, you must have feelings for her, because you done left me with this news and you done went over there. So when he came back, I was packed and ready to go. And I said, take me to my grandma's house. The kids can stay with you. I got to go and get my mind right. So that's where I went. I went to stay with my grandma for about a week. And so, yeah, while I'm over there, my heart's breaking. I'm hurting. I'm going through pain. And then this video comes across YouTube. I'm on YouTube, and I'm just thinking, I'm not watching TV. There's no distractions or none of that. I'm just sitting with my feelings, my emotions. So I'm thinking, and then, I'm on YouTube. I just on there, just scrolling. And I come across this thing that talks about narcissism. And I'm like, what is this? And, I turn it on, and I'm listening to it. And I'm looking at it, I was like, I said, this sounds so familiar. I said, this sounds like all the stuff that I have been dealing with all these years, and I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have a word for it. I knew I was dealing with something that was not normal. I knew I have been dealing with something that just, in my spirit, was like devilish, and I was like, but I couldn't, there was not, at that time, there was no words for that. There was no name for it. I couldn't explain to a person what I was dealing with or what kind of man I was dealing with. I just couldn't. I didn't have the words for it. But when they were talking about this whole narcissism thing, I said, hold up. I said, this sounds this sounds like my life. And so even then, they're talking about the narcissism and all that, and how they are with people and supply and new supply, and then they're talking about, if you have dealt with narcissism, or you're dealing with somebody like this, and this has happened to you, if you're feeling like, basically, like I was feeling like I've been being discarded. Okay, because remember I said he's leaving me, he's not coming home. At one point, it's like this man worshiped the ground that I walked on. Okay, remember I said before, he was controlling and all that. It's like he worshiped the ground that I walked on. Like I said, I felt like, he loved the mess out of me. I was his love. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, over time, it was like, I'm finding out he's starting to cheat. And in my mind, it's like, this don't sound like my husband don't do this. He had this whole facade, like in my mind, I'm just going to put out a fake name. I'm not going to say his real name. I'm going to say Todd. In my mind, I was like, my Todd, this is my Todd. My Todd don't do this. He's not like this. Like, he's not this kind of person. He's sweet. Yeah, he can get mad and he can get upset and he can get things like that, but underneath all that, he's sweet, he loves me, he cares for me. He worships the ground he walks. In my eyes, that man can do no wrong. Yeah, I could deal with the toxic or when he get mad, but in my eyes, like, he couldn't do no wrong. There was this other part of him that was just so sweet and just all of that. And it's like he couldn't do no wrong to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's probably another reason why I stayed and put up with it for so long. But then, like I said, it started, something changed. It's like the devil was like, I'm about to amp this up. And I started going through, like I said, he wasn't coming home. Little by little, it started escalating. And then, like I said, with this lady, he left me that night. I just found out that I was being cheated on and all this, and you left me and was over here with her and to go help her through it. So yeah, when they started talking about discarding, I felt that's exactly what I was experiencing. I have felt like that's what's happening. I said, I'm being discarded. Because even when I was at my grandma's house, I was saying, this man was not calling me. He was not seeing about. He might call me one time to say something, but it wasn't. He didn't care. It seemed to me like he was glad I was gone for that week. He could do what he want. You know what I'm saying? So this man wasn't calling. He wasn't checking up on me or nothing. You know what I'm saying? And so it started talking about the new supply, how they find a new supply, and how they, by this point, if you're dealing with this, they already done slept with the new supply and all this and that. So my heart is breaking all over again hearing all of this. And I was like, you know what? I think it's right, because this man ain't caring about me. You know what I'm saying? So after a few days, I was like, okay, well, I got to go home. I'm going to have him come pick me up. I got kids. I still got kids I got to go take care of and all that. And I just got to go figure this thing out. So I have him come pick me up and take me home. And like I said, I don't know. I think at this point, I'm just there. Like I'm at this point, I'm just surviving. At this point, I'm just existing. I'm just going with, everything is robotic at this time. I'm just doing what I do. Take care of my kids home. Yeah, me and him are still married, but yeah, I can hear the lies, and he's telling me he wants to be together and all that. And at this point, I'm just in the marriage, So yeah, things go on and things like that. And remember, I'm still back. Remember, I went back. So this is me coming back from my grandma's house when I found out about, when I first talked to this lady. And so there's one day that I think during that period, we was going through that, his mom ended up dying. And so I think that kind of pushed all the infidelity and all that stuff. That kind of pushed all that to the side, because we went into dealing with, the death of his mom. And his mom was like my mom. So it hurt everybody deeply. And so this stuff happened around like Christmas time, around the holidays. And so we're dealing with that. So that kind of put that on the back burner. And so now I'm there and I'm being supportive of him through all of that and stuff. And even through that, he's just kind of, getting upset with me. He's like, you're not here supporting me like you should, which I am. I'm helping. Like, I actually, when his mom passed away and they went to we went and did the arrangements. His mom always did her hair. I did her hair all the time because she liked it the way I did her hair and all that. So when she passed and all that, and they needed somebody to do her hair and makeup, I actually was the one that did her hair and her makeup and all that for the funeral. So that was my way of contributing and doing all that. So I did that because I knew that's how she was. I knew how she liked her hair and stuff. And so, but then he got into this whole thing, like, you're not supporting me and all that. I'm like, look, I don't know how much more support you get. That seems like that's support to me. I'm doing your mama's head and makeup for the funeral. Like, I don't know. I'm being as supportive as I can. I'm not that kind of person. But I think at that time, his mom, he's looking for somebody to lash out at. And so all that happened, and we dealt with that for a while. And then when we finally got through all of that, and we was able to actually take a pause after, the funeral and, going through that I want to say probably after a few weeks, we was able to take a pause, and I was just able to finally sit and be with myself. Nobody was there at home, and I was by myself that day, and I was actually able to finally sit and mourn her for myself, because like I said, everything was just so chaotic, and I was helping him through it, so I couldn't really sit and deal with my feelings of her loss myself. So I was able to sit and mourn myself, and at that time while I was sitting there and I was mourning her, I kid you not, the Lord's voice was so loud in that house. But he told me, he said, leave or you're going to get hurt really, really bad. The Lord told me clear as day. He said, leave or you're going to get hurt really, really bad. And I'm in my mind, that wasn't God. I didn't hear that. I said, that's my own head. You know, I heard it. I know in my spirit knew. I was like, oh. I'm going to act like I didn't even hear that. And because remember, I told you at that point, I had made this thing an idol. And so I wasn't ready to let my idol go. I was like, I want my marriage. I said, I'm going to have my marriage. I said, I ain't leaving. And I didn't leave. I did not leave. So mind you, like I said, so let's go back to a year later when he had this baby. And the Lord had already showed me too. The Lord had actually showed me before I go back. The Lord was already showing me dreams. I was having all kind of dreams about females and what he was doing. And I was having dreams about a woman and her being pregnant and all that. So the Lord had already showing me all of this. And I just was kind of like not paying it any attention. But I kid you not all that stuff played out. So fast forward back to that, the lady, she has the baby. And so, like I said, I found out about the child and all that. You know, I already told you all that about me going to the house and they're talking about the baby's his and all this and that. And so that's when I knew that the Lord was telling. I said, so yeah, this is why the Lord told me to leave. He told me I was going to get hurt really, really bad. And because I was disobedient, and I stayed, I got hurt really bad. I stayed in this thing. This baby is here and all that. And then do you guys know what? Even after that, I stayed. I know. I stayed. Even after that, I stayed. And I don't know why. I don't know what I was doing. I just don't think I was ready to let it go yet. I think that there was a part of me that was still holding on to hope. And so I stayed. And I stayed with this man. I stayed and I continued to sleep with this man. When he wouldn't come home, I knew where he was at. I would go over there. I was fighting the girl. I fought the girl and I was fighting and all kinds of things. And I was drinking and I was just doing all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And, but also somewhere in between there, I'm trying to think. Actually, I think before I found out, So right before I found out that he had the baby and all of this, you guys, when I told you that he came home, and was talking about how he had money stolen from him. Well, actually, during that process, right before that happened, because remember I told you I knew about her like a year or so, a year or two before. And so here we go into the next year. And it's crazy because at that same time that he lost his mom in December or at Christmas time. Well, the following year, like I said, it's like Satan he amped up on me. It's like the following year we were we went through Christmas and all that. But I want to say the year after that, I'm trying to think, because like I said, it was a year and I found out about her. And then the year we went through that. And so I want to say after that, the year after that, at the same time, at Christmas time, I lost my mom. My mom died at the same time. At the same time he lost his mom, the 2 years later, at the same time, I lost my mom at Christmas time at the same time. And I was like, this has got to be some sick joke that's being played on me. I said, what what is happening? But my mom was murdered. So I went through all that, and when I found out about my mom and what happened to her, my husband was not home. We could not find my husband. We did not know where he was at. I'm thinking he was with her. So, and my kids, at this point, my kids is they're older now. And so my kids like, you need to come home. Grandma just died, and mom cannot. I told them, because I said, I called him, I can't get a hold of him. He's not answering my calls. It's like, you need to come home. Grandma just died, and you're not even here. And so he finally came, because he answered the kids. So he came, and so I'm dealing with the death of my mom and all this and that. So once again, I'm not paying attention to him and what he has going on. I'm dealing with that. I'm the oldest child. So I'm the one that has to plan the funeral and all the arrangements and doing all that. So I had to plan the funeral and do all that stuff. And then so when we finally got through the burial of my mom and all that stuff. And so we got through the funeral. And do you know that this man started an argument with me? But the day of the funeral, after the funeral was over and it was done and we came home, this man started argument with me. And do you know this man left? He left. So when my mom died, I dealt with that on my own. He left. You know what I'm saying? I had to deal with that. But mind you, I was supportive with him and his mom and all that. But he was supported as far as like financially, but when it came to burying her and all that, but when it came to the emotional aspect, he was not supportive of me at all. He was gone. And so, like I said, so after that, that's when, he came home a little while after that, he came home. This was probably like a month or so later after I'm dealing with, my mom has gotten buried and all that. And that's when I find out, like, he comes home and somebody's money got stolen. And then that's when he comes out with her and the kid, the same lady that I like I said. So he had been, like I said, at that time, I felt like it was something different because he left me that night after he had told me, after I found out about her. And so he had told me he hadn't been messing with her, but I guess he had, because this lady is pregnant, and here we are a couple of years later, and here we are, and there's a kid and all that with the same lady. And so, like I said, the rest, him taking me to go and try to find his money, but he didn't take me by the house. And I found the house later. I kept in mind where, the street that we drove down, and, the birthday party. Remember, I already told you about the birthday party. All that happened after that and stuff. And, and then I'm pulling up and I'm fighting the lady and all this and that. Pulling up and fought her because I was like, you're not here. So I'm pulling up. Every time he leaves, I'm like, I know where he's at. So I'm going over here and I'm fighting her and stuff. And then so there just came a point where, you guys, I couldn't tell you. I think after a certain point, I kind of just checked out. I checked out of everything completely, because the night that I found out that my mom had died, I had stopped drinking. I had been stopped drinking. I had put alcohol behind me. But the night I found out that my mom died, I picked it back up, and I didn't put it back down. I haven't put it back down since. And so dealing with that, the deaths of two parent, and I say mothers because, like I said, his mom was like a mom to me. So dealing with the death of two women in my life that had died, and my marriage, I was dealing with all this stuff at the same time. And it's just, I picked up drinking and I checked out. And yes, I stayed. I never left. I think there came a time where I did move out. I did move out into an apartment. I tried to live there, but I couldn't live there because it was just not up to my standards. And my mind's like, this is out of my comfort zone. This is not up to my standards. This is the ghetto over here. And so I moved back in with him. But I felt like he should have been the one to move, but he wouldn't move. He's not going to move. He wouldn't move. He was the financial, breadwinner and all that. And so he was, in his mind, he's like, I'm not leaving nowhere. If anybody's going to leave, it's going to be you, but I'm not leaving. I didn't ask for the divorce. You did, because he didn't want to get divorced, but I don't see why not. But he's like, you made the decision to divorce and all this and that. You gonna move. I'm not going nowhere. And so this man he didn't leave. He's like, I'm keeping the house and everything in it. And so I when I did move out, I didn't have anything. And I think at that time I don't think I was ready. But so I moved back in with him. And so I stayed there, and it kind of just turned into a roommate thing, because I know during this time too, he was getting custody of his daughter, the daughter that he had, because the mom, she was, I don't know. I'm not going to tell her business, but it got to a point where he needed to get custody of the child. So he was going through a whole custody thing for 2 years, a couple of years. He went through that. And so he got custody of that child. He was getting custody of her. So he was going through that. And so there was just, I want to say, during that whole time, that man showed no remorse. He showed not being sorry. There was just no remorse or anything. His mind was always focused on that. And then his mind went from that to being focused on getting custody of his daughter. And then his daughter came to live with him. And so I'm living in the house with him, his daughter, our kids. We're all living there. Mind you, at this time, during these process, my kids is grown. They're growing up. I have grown kids. And the only one left in the house was my daughter. But she, at that time, she was graduating. So at the time he was getting her, she was graduating. So my kids are grown now. But I have 2 nephews that I'm raising. So they're still young. I have 2 nephews that I adopted. So they're still young. So when I'm talking about my kids, I'm talking about them too. So they're in the house. And so she came to live with us. And so now we're all living in the house. And I'm dealing with all of this. You know what I'm saying? She has her own. My daughter had to give up her room for this little girl. So my daughter had to move into the basement and make a room there. So she had to give up her room for this child. And there's nothing against the child or anything like that. It's not her fault. But I'm just telling you how it went. And it's almost like, and then so I'm still, like I said, I'm sharing a room with him still. And now this little girl, she wants to sleep. She sleeps with his daughter. She wants to sleep with him every night. So she sleeps with him. And so so she's sleeping in the room with us. And I was like, okay, I can't do this, because I feel like I'm being pushed out, because now that he has his daughter, he lets her, it's like he was letting her do whatever she wanted. She could eat all over the house. She could eat in the bed. There's crumbs. Is this, that. I said, I can't live like this. I said, not once did I ever. I said, we live like this. But I look back on it. I always kept the house. I kept the house. I kept the order in the house. I had the rules. I had the boundaries. I had everything, set up. My house stayed spotless. Like, I did not play that. And it's like, once he gets this child and everything is the way it's in between us, it's like, now it's like he has fully, like, I'm seeing who this man is. And it's like he is fully, this child and him is like, they're pushing, like, I'm pushing you out. I'm pushing you to the side. She can do whatever she wants to in this house. Yeah, she can eat all over this house. She can do this. She can do that. She can do whatever she wants to in this house. And I'm like, I said, so you just totally disregarding everything, how everything ever was. And then so I got pushed out of the room. I got pushed out of the room. So I was like, okay, let me get all my stuff and pack my stuff up and get out of here, because the little girl's in my stuff. He's letting her get in my stuff and everything. So I pack up and I get out of the room. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, this is when I decided, like, okay, I'm going to move. Try moving, and I did, and like I said, I don't think I was ready. So I asked if I could come back, and so he said I could. So when I came back, I actually moved down into the basement with my daughter, and so it was strictly just roommates. I was not sleeping with him. By this point, we're divorced, and I'm not gonna lie, every so often we would slip up. There would be a slip up. Every so often there would be a slip up. But, after a while, I was like, when I started trying to get right, I said, you know what, I can't do this no more. I can't keep giving you my body and I'm not with you because you don't care about chores. You sleep with all these different people and all this and that, because during the marriage and during this time when I'm going through this with this man, I was always getting health scares. I was always getting STD scares. It was always something. I always had to go to the doctor for something because this man is out here, he's cheating, you're sleeping with people, and I have to go get shots for STDs because you don't care. And then I remember during this time, I was praying to the Lord. I said, Lord, and the Lord's like, girl, this man is doing, would you stop? But was praying to the Lord, like, Lord, if this man is doing this and he doing that, let these people come and knock on my door. Like it was like that for me. And tell me to my face that this man is doing all this. Like, show me. And do you know, these people came and knocked on the door. They was like, they came and knocked on the door, and he steps outside. I'm like, why are you stepping outside? I was like, I don't know, somebody for him. And then he comes back in the house, is like, these are the people from the health department. And he's like, they're here, and I said, so y'all do house calls? They do house calls to give you medicine for STDs. I said, this is crazy. These people are doing house calls. I said, and the Lord's like, I don't know how much clearer you need me to get. They done came and knocked on the door, and they doing a house call for it. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, it's time for me to snap out of stupidity. So that's why I decided, so, I got to stop sleeping with you, because you going to mess around and you going to bring me something that I can't get rid of. And I can't play like that. And so I had to completely cut off sleeping with this man. And now I ain't gonna lie, I did sleep with him probably a couple times after that. But then finally I came to my senses and I have cut it off. And so it strictly went to just roommates. And so yeah, so I'm living in a house with this man. We're divorced. We're not together. We're moving base. His daughter's there. We're there. We're still maintaining and living in the house. Like I said, he's going about his business. I'm going about my business. And, he's taking care of the house. I'm not working. So I wasn't working because, like I said, I was always a stay-at-home mom. He was the breadwinner. But I did work off and on through the years to contribute to the home when needed. And so, but it's like this man had flipped. It's like during this process of me staying there, it's like this man had flipped. It's like he had created this whole story. Like there was one point where, like I said, this man worshiped the ground I walk on. I had everything done right. Like the kids know, like I did everything when he came in that house. And I didn't mind. All he had to do was go to work and come home. He came home to a clean house, food on the table, kids was straight. He didn't have to do anything but do that. And so it's like somehow this man flipped the whole story and made it look like, it started putting it out there and made it look like, oh, you don't do nothing. She don't do nothing. I do everything. You don't clean up. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do anything. I do everything. I got to clean up. I got to do this. It's like the man took the whole story, the whole reality and flipped it and made it look like it was all me. It's like everything got turned on like it was all me. Okay, like I was the cheater. Now, mind you, like I said, I did my infidelity, but it's like he flipped the whole scenario and was like, she's the cheater. She don't do nothing. I got to do everything in this house. She doesn't do anything. I was like, and I'm sitting here and I'm watching this stuff right before all of this stuff happened in real time right before my very eyes. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, is this really happening? I said, is this man really assassinating my character like that and flipping everything and flipping the whole of what stuff really is? And then finally, my kids was like, Mom, we know who really did what. They said, we're not listening to him. We know you were the one that did everything. So they said, we're not listening to. I said, yeah, y'all ain't, but just imagine who the other people and his family and stuff that he's telling this stuff to. Like, he even tried to brainwash my nephews. And they're like, we don't listen to that. Well, I know they don't, because they grew up in a house with it, so there was no way you could kind of flip it on him. But just the fact that you're sitting here and you flipping this whole scenario, and you trying to push me out of the house without anything and keep everything, and try to keep everything going, try to keep this whole, I can't think of the name, but try to keep this whole of what things look like going for yourself. He's trying to make it seem like it was all me. And so you have the house, you have everything, and you have the kids, and you're taking care of the kids, and you wouldn't even let me take my nephews. Like, you're not taking them either, because, well, you don't have anything. I have everything. I take care of them. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. So it's like this man tried to take everything from me and flip the whole script, the story on everything. And so, like I said, I sat here and watched this happen in real time. I was like, this man is changing the whole story. It's like he's changing the whole reality of our lives and what happens. Like, he's changing everything. And so that's when I knew, and I started hearing more things and seeing more things about narcissism. And I was like, I have totally been involved and dealt with narcissism this whole time, and didn't even realize it. But every time it was becoming clear and clear. And I'm here to tell you like this: when the Lord tells you to leave something, leave it. Because if you don't leave and you're disobedient and you don't leave something, or you don't do something with the Lord when the Lord tells you to, you are going to be stuck in that thing. And I was stuck in that thing for 7 more years. I couldn't get out of it. I was stuck in it. All because I didn't leave when the Lord told me to leave. All because I didn't leave when he told me to leave. And then during that process, I went to drinking. I'm not going to lie to you. I committed adultery again. When I found out about that child and everything, that's when I told him I want a divorce, and I do not want to be in this marriage anymore, and I'm done with it. And I threw caution to the wind and said, you know what? I'm going to do whatever I want to do, and I don't care about nothing no more. I stopped with my relationship with the Lord. I started drinking. I went and committed adultery, because I was still married. Even though I said I wanted a divorce, I was still married. I hadn't gone through with the divorce yet. You are still married until you have gone through the divorce. I hadn't gone through the divorce, so I was still an adulterer. I still cheated on my marriage. There's no excuse. Just because he made a kid and all that, there's no excuse. I was an adulterer. And I was an adulterer. I was an alcoholic. And I was I was rebellious because I was being disobedient, and I was doing what I wanted to do, and I didn't care anymore. And then, so mind you, while I'm over here and I'm messing with this guy, and my spirit picked up on the fact that I feel like I've seen some of this before. I feel like you are underhanded. I feel just the narcissism came to my mind again. I was like, I feel like you are, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I dealt with him, I didn't deal with things, but I deal with a little bit of manipulation. But I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna say it because I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it because the Lord's, I must need to say it. But the Lord gave me dreams about this man, because here I am in Delulu land. And I'm like, Lord, I said, I don't know. I said, should I be messing with this man? I said, I don't think, of course you're not. You're married. You know what I'm saying? But here I am in Delulu land. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, man, I was like, Lord, if I ain't supposed to be messing with this man, I was like, am I supposed to be messing with this man and all this and that? Of course I ain't. But the Lord gave me a dream about this man too. The Lord showed me that this man was bisexual. He showed me a dream with this man sitting between me and another man. And he showed me that the part of him being with the man, that part, the gay part, was pulling him more. So that's the part that he went with more. And I said, oh, you got to be kidding me. But I knew in my spirit, because I knew something was off, because the way it was with this man. I was like, some things are giving me vibes of this, but I'm not sure. I have never dealt with this. And so the Lord showed me, like, yeah. And he's like, and this pulls him more. He said, you ain't going to be able to have him. I said, oh, Lord, what am I doing? And do you know, during this process, and I'm going to say it because somebody need to hear this, of me doing that, yes, my husband was doing what he was doing, but I went out and did what I did. Do you know that during that time of me doing what I did, I had to I went to the doctor for a routine checkup, woman checkup. And they told me, because I remember during that period, I kind of was a little bit sick and I couldn't figure out, like, why am I feel a certain way. But I went to the doctor and I thought it was just, woman things. And, they gave me some medicine and all that, because, I wasn't hydrating and none of that stuff. So I'm just thinking, like, oh, I'm just dealing with your usual, UTI or something like that. No, I go to do my woman checkup after that, because after getting the medicine, it made me feel bad. I was cool after that. But I went and did my normal checkup. Women are my yearly. And she told me, she said, you have, I cannot remember what it is, you guys. Don't tell me. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Okay, but she said you have I cannot remember what it is, guys. It's been so long. She said that, anyway, I had caught something, and she said basically what it was is that, and if I think of the name, I'll tell you later. But basically, it could lead to like cervical cancer or whatnot. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she said, yeah. But she said, she said, usually a lot of people have it and don't know that they have it or whatnot. But she said, a lot of people have it and they're walking around with it and they don't know they have it. And you can only get a yearly to see that you have it. But basically it was, HPV. That's what I had got, HPV. And it is due from intercourse and all that. And so that happened to me during that. And so I said, oh my God. And I said, it did not scare me straight. It was that, because you definitely can get cancer from that. And so that can lead to cancer, is HPV. And then so just so happened, my husband happened to be in the car while I was doing this phone call with this lady, and she said it. I thought she was just going to tell me the normal, with the pap smear. And he heard the whole thing, and then he used that to his advantage and just went in total attack mode on me with that. And so, like I said, I couldn't say nothing, because I did commit, even though we were married, we're getting divorced, I still committed adultery. I couldn't move away from that. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't say I got it from him. I couldn't say I don't know. And I could tell him all day long. I said, it could have, came from you. You messing around, but I couldn't say it. I couldn't just say that and stick with that, because it's like, no, because you was over here. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I went through all of this, and if nothing scared me straight, that scared me straight. But like I said, during that time, I was just doing what I want. I didn't care. And then in the process of me walking away and moving away from the Lord, and going to do what I want, that these are the things that I invited in on myself. These are the things that I invited in on myself. These are the things that, the doors that I opened. I opened up these doors, and so when I did that, when I committed that adultery that second time, and picked that bottle back up, and being rebellious, because like I said, I was on a journey with the Lord. He was working on me with some things, but when I got to that point of I didn't care, and I gave up. Do you know I opened the door, and all of these demons, I opened the door to all of these demons, and do you know those things swarmed me like not like never before? Because remember we said when a demon goes out of a man, and the demon goes and walks around in dry places, but that spirit comes back and sees that the house has been swept clean and all that. But he goes recruits like 10 more spirits stronger, and they come back. That's what happened to me. So just think about it. All of those 10 spirits, they didn't just come back. He just didn't come back with them. All them 10 spirits, every spirit they came back with, they own 10 spirits. You know what I'm saying? So they came back. When I say those things swarmed me, they swarmed me. Okay? And I have gone through, when I say that I had to really fly, that I really had to go through some stuff, like the Lord really had to do I had to go through a lot of deliverance and a lot of healing, with the Lord. And he is still delivering me from things, you know what I'm saying? But that's because I walked away from the Lord. That's because I made this marriage, this man, I made this thing an idol. I was rebellious. I walked away from the Lord. I just did so many things that opened up my life, that opened up my body for all of this stuff. So I'm here to tell you that if you're dealing with stuff like that, and that is not a marriage that the Lord wants you a part of. The Lord does not want us to be in marriages that is going to hurt us and bring us pain, that's going to open up doors for all of this stuff. That's not what he wants. Okay? And another thing, like I said, when the Lord tells you to leave something, leave something. Don't be like me and then you be stuck and you can't get out of that thing for another 7 or 8 years because I was being hard-headed and I didn't leave when he told me to leave. So the Lord remained me and allowed me to sit in that mess. I had to sit in it. I had to sit in it. Yes, when I gave myself back to him and he was there and he was working on me, while I'm sitting in it, I sat in it, but after I got done sat in it, I had to come to the end of myself. And when I finally came to the end of myself and I called on the Lord, and then so he decided, like, okay, let's get to work. But I still was there. I still had to be there. You know what I'm saying? I still had to go through a process. You know what I'm saying? I'm still there. I'm still living in the house. I'm in the process of the Lord working things out of me. I'm getting to the end of it, of all of that. But I'm finally just now coming out of all of that because I was disobedient all these years ago. And the Lord allowed me to sit in that thing until I came to the end of myself. I was dying. I was dang near dead. Okay? When I say Satan was trying to take me out, Satan was trying to take me out of here. And about almost did. Okay? I got sick being in there, dealing with all of this. I got sick. And the Lord is, thank God, He's healing me from all of that now. But I got sick. Started dealing with autoimmune disease. I had put on a lot of weight. My hair was coming out. My sight, like all kinds of things was happening to me health-wise because I stayed and I decided that I wanted to stay in this thing. And when I tell you, narcissism or being with a narcissist will kill you. It will kill you. Okay? That thing took my beauty, and I don't care what nobody say. The Lord, he knows it, okay? That thing took my beauty, okay? But thank God for restoring me. You know what I'm saying? I lost some teeth. Like when I say that thing was trying to take me up out of here and was taking my beauty and just everything from me. It was taking everything from me. Finances. You know, I took so many losses. I took financial losses. I lost cars. I lost money. You know, I lost loss after loss after loss after loss. Okay? And I had to come to the end of myself. Now I am just totally just me and the Lord. I had to give myself to the Lord. When I tell you, when you're dealing with narcissism, partner with God and get out of there. If the Lord tells you to leave something, leave. Leave. Some people ain't so lucky to get out of these situations. But thank God that he's bringing me out. And so that's the end of my story. And I'm going to, so after, now that I'm done with this story, and you know, guys, I'm going to always be referring back, because like I said, there are things that I kept out, and I just try to get to the most important things that I wanted you to know, and the Lord, you know, the Lord wanted you to know. But I am a living testimony, okay, to living this thing. Narcissism, like I said, everything that you could probably think of, I've gone through it and I've dealt with it. Okay, Satan been trying to take me out ever since I was a little girl. He been trying to take me up out of here, but God, you know what I'm saying? So now you guys are on my journey with me to where I am today, and so now I'm you know, I'm going to tell you what I have done and what the Lord is doing in me and my journey, and what I'm doing and how I'm just rebuilding, how I partner with the Lord to rebuild myself and rebuild my life. Just, and for anybody that's in these kinds of situations and it don't look like you can get out, it don't look like how you know if you're going to get out or if you can be free. Look, the Lord is rebuilding me in the midst of it. Okay, the Lord is rebuilding me and rebuilding me and delivering me in the midst of it. Okay, he can do anything. Anything is possible if you got God. Okay, so I'm going to end it there. I will be back probably next week. You know, I don't know when, maybe 2 weeks, maybe next week, I don't know. But I'm going to get back. I got 2 videos up here, and so I will be back. And like I said, if you feel like, also another thing I want to say too, you heard my story from the beginning. I have been everything that you can think of. I was an adulterer. I was a thief. I was a hoe. I was rebellious. Okay, I was a murderer, because like I said, I did the whole abortion thing. And even with my husband, I failed to tell you guys this, that I did abortion again with my husband. I had my son, and then I got pregnant again right after that. And I don't know what made me do this, but I think because I had did it before, and that's not even who I am, but I think because I had did it before, that spirit came up on me and was like, hey, I said, we can't take care of these kids. This is too many kids. We can't keep this one. And I don't know what I was thinking and why I invited that in, but I also think he resented me too from that. And so I did that. So I did that twice, you guys. So I was a murderer. Everything, every sin, I did it. You know what I'm saying? So don't think that God cannot love somebody like you. He can, because he loves me. He loves me, and he is delivering me, and he has set me free. And he has sent me to set you free. Okay? So I will be back with some more videos. Like I said, I have a lot of things in store. There's a lot of things I'm doing. And you guys have a good day, and I'll see you soon, and bye-bye.